Hey everybody, we're live. We are live. Sorry, we were just like looking at this. You've done all the tech, which is great.
The key question
and
is
I'm like, yes, we're live. There we go. Is it? Yep.
can,
Hi.
can everybody hear us is the question, because sometimes we've had microphone problems. But
I think if we hold it, because we're sharing one,
I'm going to hold it like that
and go back and forth.
so that it's in between.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
We got Georgia here as well.
Fantastic,
Paula,
Georgia. Lovely to see you.
Fantastic. Paula acknowledging that we've had this big storm yesterday. The truth is that we've had this terrible storm in the UK.
I'm just cracking my back. Sorry.
And we have been in London because we're moving house in London. So we haven't been in Dorset. But the word is that the gardens are okay. I haven't heard of any trees coming down in the gardens. We've had quite a few trees down in the park close to us.
Close
and
to here.
It was an unbelievable wind yesterday.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it was just extraordinary. Never heard anything like it.
No.
The only casualty, as far as we're concerned, is that a large branch,
It almost looks like a tree.
has fallen down in the garden of the place that we're moving to. So it almost feels as though my first job, moving into this new apartment, well, it's a flat with a lower ground floor, is going to be getting out a chainsaw and chopping wood so that we can actually get into it. Not expected.
No, not expected. So, exactly. So it was just like a housewarming present before we move in on Tuesday.
It was.
Oh, so we just want to say hi to Nina, and we thank you, Nina. We did have a nice birthday night. We've been packing though that's why I had to crack my back.
It's been a busy week,
and
hasn't it?
Weekend.
Week.
Yeah, it's been very busy.
Week. I didn't actually make it. Did we go to Dorset this week?
No, we can't.
I think this is one of the very few weeks when we haven't actually been down to Dorset.
Yeah.
And part of the reason for that is it was Julie's birthday on Thursday.
Yeah, and also the other reason was because of the storm.
Reason.
No, and also yes, but the storm was Nestor. The schools closed, so then Nestor was coming home on Thursday, coming back to London, and it was all confusing.
Exactly.
So I wanted to say hi to Georgia. We're going to get to some questions. Hi to Laura from New Jersey. Perrick, hello, Perrick. Perrick, tell us where you are right now, because I think you're still in the States. Is that right? We've got Vicky from Indianapolis and Lorraine from Seattle. We've got Sally here. And we'll just check here if anybody's tuning in from... oh, good, Sally, you have been able to tune in, because you said that... you might not be able to join, but you're here. And if Penny is here, we will definitely answer your question. Same with Lynn. So I think, Luke, you just want to maybe kick off giving an update on, in particular, what's happening with the rewilding. Because I just saw the website, which hasn't gone live yesterday, but for the first time, it was brilliant.
Well, it feels like we've got 3 big projects all on the go. And top of the list, at least as far as Julie's concerned, is the pool.
Yes.
We had such an exciting time meeting a wild pool man called David. And it was amazing because somebody who'd watched one of our videos put us in touch with him. And we're not going to give it all away because I don't think the video's gone out yet. But we just had a brilliant time with him. And his vision for the pool is exactly... your vision, our vision, and it's going to be just a brilliant project with lots to do. I'm hoping Julie's going to be getting out the hammer and nails because there's quite a lot of construction involved.
I know, but I heard you talking to Andy yesterday saying he was going to build all the flower beds.
No.
I was a bit like, what?
You can't say flower beds because that slightly gives it away.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just say hammer and nail, I think.
Hammer and nail.
Is
but
enough.
I'm going to be able to hammer and nail a bit, I hope.
You're going to be able to
Andy's going to save some for me.
Do some building work, exactly. So that project is underway, and we've got, what's not a secret is that we've got workmen in at the moment fixing the leaks. Mm-hmm. They've come up with this amazing compound that you put into a crack where water is flowing, and it seals and hardens so quickly it just stops the water, and that's just brilliant because it means that we can hopefully keep the water out as well as keeping the water in.
Yeah,
both things
and
at the
you'll
same
see
time.
that. We don't want to give too much away because you're going to see that video like any day now. It's
That's true.
supposed to be coming out
It's
tonight.
okay because it's patrons.
I
So
know,
we
I know.
can give them a little bit more.
I know, but it's supposed to be coming out, I think, today. But I think Stephen's running a little bit behind. Hi, Stephen, if you're watching, a little bit behind on some editing projects because we are throwing things at him left, right, and center. So it might be tomorrow. But yeah, so you'll be able to see that soon. And then of course there's just obviously so much going on with sort of we're going to be doing. When's the next safari tour?
Well. So the three projects are the pool. I mean, there's lots of projects, but these are the kind of three in my head at the moment. The pool, the launch of the rewilding project. Julie's just seen an early version of the website that we've been building for that, called Mapperton Wildlands. And I don't think it's live on mappertonwildlands.com yet, but it will be soon.
Yeah.
And it's got lots of extraordinary pictures of
And
that part of the estate and all of the wildlife. And it's got the tours. Well, it's starting to have the tours that will be.
Yeah, and it was really interesting because he showed me, what he and Stephen have sort of built. It's not live yet, and I was like, oh, the photography is fantastic, and I just thought those aren't animals from the estate. And he was like, yes, they are. Of course, we're going to put photos of the birds and the insects.
She thought I'd gone to just a sort of library footage.
They're brilliant. I'm like, I want to see those.
Yeah. Anyway,
so that was
so there's that project, and then there's obviously the Coltley project, which I've been having various meetings about as well, trying to get to grips with the costings of all of the work that's required to convert those buildings, to rebuild that barn, to convert the cottage, and it's quite substantial as a project. But we hope it's because it's got such fantastic views down to the sea and it's in the middle of the rewilding site. We think it'll be really popular. So,
yeah, we do.
So anyway, do put some questions down if you've got any questions.
So we've got. Let's first go to the ones that some have put. So Penny, so Penny. Oh yeah. There we go. I think maybe just sort of answer.
Penny
how did you feel?
Asking a question about primogeniture. This is
which we talked about beforehand.
Archaic system that we have in the UK for inheritance in these types of families. And she said, how did it feel to know that I was next, and was my sister upset? Well, I suppose I was so young that I didn't really think too hard about it. I'd grown up with it. I think the question is more, how does my sister feel about it today, and how does my younger brother feel about it today? And I think it's not easy because it's not a very equitable setup. So the answer is that it's complicated. It creates complications in families, and I think that's a real downside of this system. Even though it's good for maintaining properties and keeping everything together.
Yeah.
So we've got another one from Lynn here, who says, what are some of the uniquely American foods that Luke enjoys eating when he visits the US with Julie? So Lynn, the truth is that when I've gone to the US with Julie, I mean, we haven't actually been as many times as you would think.
No, we've been
4 times. So in order to answer that question, I think I need to go back further to the pre-Julie era, when I was living in New York in the 90s. And just about my favorite thing to eat, I don't know whether it's strictly American, but it's certainly Jewish American.
Oh, I know what he's going to say. Yeah.
And it came from in fact in the late 80s I worked in Midtown Manhattan in the garment district, and I was introduced to all these extraordinary delis that could whip up amazing food. And my favorite thing at that time was a hot pastrami and rye sandwich with mustard, particularly with a bit of Swiss laid onto it.
Yeah, and I will give you sort of insider information. Do you know that I had never visited New York until
You went with me.
I went with Luke.
Yeah.
So can you believe that? So I had never, and so actually the first time we went to New York together, it was for a wedding, and you were showing me around, and I remember you saying that to me. And then since then, luckily for me,
she wasn't very keen on New York.
I wasn't, because I was comparing it to Chicago.
She was all about Chicago.
Chicago.
But now you love it.
But now I love it because my work has brought me back there so much since that time, and recently in particular, prior to obviously the pandemic. And now I love New York. I mean, not as much as Chicago,
she
of course,
loves it
but
ever since I rode her across the lake in Central Park.
We did. I know that was in 2018.
That was fun,
it was
wasn't it?
brilliant. Or 19. 18 or 19. I think 18. So we have you been able to, Lorraine's asked, have you been able to hire a runner yet?
Well, that was your idea, wasn't it? That you wanted a runner to help.
Yes. Sorry.
The
I thought it was
no.
No.
We'd really
I think we've got some, for American Viscountess, we have some pretty big homes that we've obviously filmed at Rockingham, which somebody had asked the other day on American, if you're American Viscountess patron, is there going to be more episodes of Rockingham? There is. So those of you who are both, you would have seen, you will be getting that episode today or tomorrow. But we've got some big houses coming up, and I think we're going to need some help. So I'm going to start sort of putting feelers out for that. That would be brilliant.
For Mapperton Live, we don't need a runner because we need to be kind of nimble and a small team. And we have Stephen and Claire filming, and then it's Julie and me. And that's...
Yeah, for Mapperton Live,
really?
it would just, it's when we go on these shoots to these houses, historic houses.
Which is a much bigger deal.
Yeah, but we'll see what the budget does.
So we got Georgia here saying, hi everybody, we need more patrons. Well, you know what? That would be fantastic. Thank you, Georgia.
Thank you, Georgia.
And Parik is saying, are we ready for reopening? Well, I think we are ready for reopening. We're reopening at the beginning of March, so that's not far now. Only the gardens will open at the beginning of March. The house won't open until the beginning of April.
But the cafe will open.
The cafe will open
in March.
One of the things that's happening this week, which we haven't been able to film because we're not there, is that the whole of the cafe floor is being resanded. That would have been a fun thing to
Oh, I would have been
join
like
in
to
on.
have done that.
And it's had a few years now of weddings and dancing, and it just needed a bit of a revamp. So that's the one bit of work that's going on there. In the gardens, we've got some new signs going up. We've been having problems with dogs recently. One of the things, we love dogs, but dogs aren't allowed in the gardens because they can cause problems and mess. And so we've been having problems with people bringing dogs and not seeing the signs. So we've had to put up more signs for that.
And also we've been working on, Emma, our cafe manager, and the team have been really working on new recipes for the cafe, and also the shop. So the pop, which we'll get to the online shop, but I call it the pop-up shop, but it's the shop in the cafe, and just bringing in a lot of different sort of local artisans there as well, which is brilliant. So I think they're really excited about that. It's going to have kind of a whole new look and feel, I think, this year.
It is, and we've also recruited a new seasonal cook. So previously we had Mark, and he's left to do other things. But now we have a new chap starting called Andrew, who you haven't met yet.
I heard the phone call though, but
and
yeah.
Apparently he's a very good baker. So
oh, good.
So that's going to be exciting.
Fantastic. So yeah, so that's really exciting.
And then George has said, must take everybody's help with the estate, and your sister was helpful at Christmas. Question is, is your sister of help? But the question is that your sister must help you. She helps a lot.
Yeah,
doesn't
she's
she?
brilliant.
She's fantastic.
She's brilliant.
And she knows a great deal about things.
She's so brilliant.
Because her background is working as a curator. She studied at the Courtauld and did her master's there.
Well, she did Cambridge first, History of Art.
History of Art.
And then Courtauld.
And then the Courtauld, and then she worked at the Tate. And so she's very good she's got a very good eye, and she's very good at curatorial questions. And she's been helping in particular with the drawing that we've been developing for Mapperton. But she's just a very wise person who's a great source of support
Lovely. So
thanks for that question, Georgia.
There were some Patreon questions coming through. Remember, we forgot to refresh it.
exactly. Last time, I think Parrot.
But it might be on
that.
the other. Oh no, this is it. Okay.
So keep going down.
Yeah.
Right. Hello to Jane in Georgia. Are there going to be more episodes coming with Luke's parents? Yes, absolutely. So they are going to be regular presenters on Mapperton Live. They've got there's a tour of the church coming up, another more in-depth tour of the church coming up with my mother. Mm-hmm. So you'll be seeing that, I think, in a week or two.
Yeah.
And then we've also got a sequence that we're going to be doing with them and somebody called Tim Connor, who is a local historian who wrote the recent book on Mapperton. And we're going to do a sequence which has my mother interviewing Tim, talking with my father about the history of Mapperton, some of the things that he's
Have
unearthed.
you filmed that yet?
No,
you
we
haven't.
We were going to film it this week, but we didn't.
Yeah, because we're moving.
Now, Georgia says hot pastrami helped her get through
pregnancies in New York City.
Indeed.
Fantastic.
Nothing like a hot pastrami. And then Nina's asked a question, with all the new animals that we're bringing, will we be introducing peacocks? Well, the thing about the animals that we're planning to reintroduce are that they are supposed to be native to the UK. And peacocks, I don't believe are native.
No.
In fact, I think they come from the Far East.
I believe
possibly.
so.
If anybody knows, they can tell us. We have had peacocks at Mapperton, and the problem with peacocks is not that we wouldn't enjoy having them walking around the garden, it's that the foxes enjoy seeing them walking around the garden even more. And so we had 3 peacocks when I was growing up. One was called Marmaduke, and we used to find their wonderful feathers, and it was a little bit like finding a jewel each time you got one. But alas, none of them survived very long, including Marmaduke.
If you visit Pentilly Castle, they have peacocks there. There you go. Yes, they do. They have
I wonder
peacocks.
what they do about the foxes.
I don't know.
Maybe we shouldn't ask that question.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's fine now.
Yeah.
So Laura's asked, are there projects that Luke's parents initially were hesitant about, but now are fans of?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think to begin with the Coltley project, they weren't so sure, but now they're absolutely behind that. So before we had the rewilding project, the idea of simply converting these buildings and hoping that people would come and use them, yes, that was likely to happen. But I think the fact that it's coupled with the rewilding project means it makes a lot more sense to them. In terms of the other projects at Mapperton, so the ones, historical projects, like the drive, like converting the coach house into a proper wedding venue, they've been very supportive of all those things. So I can't really think of anything. Well, the truth is, if my parents weren't supportive of a project at Mapperton, we probably wouldn't do it, would we?
Exactly.
So I think we know there are certain things that we know they wouldn't want us to do. The pool project, as it's turning out, my mother is now as excited as we are.
Maybe not as excited, because I'm really excited.
Okay, not quite as excited, but she's pretty excited. Yeah. And she had a really good comment.
Yes, she did.
Didn't she?
Yeah.
Which we won't talk about now.
No, we can't.
But she gave some really good input into that.
Yeah, really good input. Yeah. So Perix asked, is it common for those who grow up on these estates to go into the history, art, interior design, event planning fields of work due to growing up surrounded by it? It's a fantastic question.
Lots of people who are going to inherit these estates go either into, as you say, working for Sotheby's or Christie's or one of the big auction houses. That's a very popular route for people. The other popular route is they become what's called a land agent. So they go to, they might go to one of the agricultural colleges to learn about farming and forestry and all of those important things. So when I was growing up, I have to say that my father didn't, or my mother didn't encourage me to do any of those things. And sometimes I've met my peers who've been through those experiences and therefore have quite a lot more knowledge about certain things than I do. So my background going to film school and to America was fairly atypical. Yeah. It wasn't the normal route in. No. What was yours?
No, mine definitely wasn't. I was like, what? Think about my education there for a second. Yeah, but no, I know what you meant.
You didn't expect, to be taking on some of these things.
No, but now I'm doing a master's.
So I think one of the things about Julie and I, and I think it's quite well recognised in the historic house community, is that we've got quite unusual backgrounds for this sort of thing, which is one of the reasons that we're doing this today, because my film school led to my film work, which led to also things that you were involved in at that time, and Julie's presenting, and Mapperton
fed into all this. I know
wouldn't be here, would
it's
it?
so true.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
So we're quite pleased. So Sally's asked, any further thoughts about the possible virtual day of wellness? Yes. So I've talked to Charlotte about it. I just need to get through. Basically, I'm going to Kenya, everybody, on Friday. So that's the other thing. We're moving. I have the day that we're moving on Tuesday. Poor Luke. That's why we're packing up now. I have something with Le Chameau in the morning. And then I'm going to be on a morning program here called This Morning, which is all about my yoga. So those of you who are based in the UK, it's similar to be like a Today show. And then that night, on Tuesday night, as he's moving everything, I have one of my lectures for my master's. And I'm leaving on Friday to go to Kenya because this has been 3 times rescheduled for a yoga retreat in Kenya. So it was supposed to happen in 2020, and then we rescheduled it to 2021, and now it is finally here, 2022. So I'm taking 12 other attendees, women, lovely women, to Kenya. Emma is coming, so luckily I've got our daughter Emma coming, but so we're going on a yoga retreat.
Can I point something out here?
Yeah.
This is not the first house move that Julie hasn't been around for.
It's because he doesn't ask me my schedule. So the last house move that we had, where it was quite a while ago, but I was in New York, and he scheduled house move.
There's always
in New York.
something amazing.
So there you
on
go.
The day we move.
So going back to your question, Sally, as soon as I get back from Kenya, we are definitely going to do that. So we just need to put a little bit more thought into it as to how we can do it, and materials and how to make it work and all that stuff. But absolutely. And then I can offer it to everybody on Wholesale Patron as well.
Paula's made a comment about the photo in Tim Connor's book. I think there is a picture of me in there, but I'll have to go and check. There's certainly a portrait of me at Mapperton, and Paula, you're quite right that now is the time to get our portraits done, in particular Julie's, and I am working on it in the background. So at some point, there will be something happening there.
Yeah.
And
hopefully sooner.
Laura said perhaps the film school prepared us better for Mapperton Live. Absolutely, Laura. I don't think we could possibly be doing this if we didn't know a little bit about sort of microphones and cameras and streaming, lights.
He's taught me a lot. I will tell you
things.
that. Perix asked, how is it meeting Earl Spencer? Fantastic. So one of my lectures on the course that I'm on for my master's, it was a couple weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, was Earl Spencer. So Charles Spencer, who's at Althorpe, but you can pronounce it Altrop or Althorpe.
That was an interesting thing that he told you.
Yeah.
Which was, because I've always thought it was Altrop. And then Julie asked him the question, and...
Well, I didn't. He said it. He said it to all of us. There's 14 of us on the course, and he said he goes back and forth between it. And he said, in my presentation tonight, it is because I think it was his grandfather who decided when he opened up the house to the public, it's just much easier calling it phonetically, Althorpe. But it was brilliant. And he did a fascinating lecture on Altrop and how it is running Altrop today, but also how, like so many of us who are in these historic houses, you do need to have other lines of businesses. So they have a furniture business. He's got a furniture business. And also, obviously, Charles Spencer writes books.
He's got a furniture business. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they basically they take the furniture that they have at Altrop and they reproduce it.
Reproduction furniture.
Sorry, reproduction furniture.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really brilliant. And this week is, oh my gosh. This week is either, I should know, I'm sure it's Ben Cowell. So Ben Cowell is on Tuesday, who I know, who is the Director General for Historic Houses for the association that all the privately owned houses most of them are a part of. And so Ben Cowell is our lecturer on Tuesday.
Is he? Oh,
yeah, but I will let everybody else talk to him because I
know him reasonably well.
I know him reasonably well.
So George has asked, are we able to plant trees and pathways for handicapped visitors close to the parking area? We do have, obviously, parking bays that are accessible. And we do have trees that we've planted in the car park, but we haven't specifically done it to create those routes. At Mapperton, it's a really interesting question, disabled access, because it's in a valley and we've got such an incline on the way down. There are parts of the garden that are accessible, and there are other parts of the garden that we just couldn't possibly recommend anybody goes down in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
But increasingly, we're trying to find new routes and new ways of doing things. And it's something that matters a lot to us, not least because my grandmother had multiple sclerosis, and she lived in the last years of her life in Beminster, near us at Mapperton, and she would come up, and she was in a wheelchair actually for, I think, the last 20 years. So I would wheel her around the garden and elsewhere. And so we would think very hard about trying to make it accessible. Julie's got a bit of a cough.
No, I just have like something tickling in my throat. I had to get something to drink.
Vicky's asked a question. She says,
Sorry.
Sounds like you had a career outside of Mapperton for a while. Have you always been involved?
I'm just going to get something to drink.
Why don't you go get some water?
While he answers this question. Okay. Sorry, everybody.
So, yes, Vicky, before I got involved with Mapperton, I did a few different things. First of all, when I left university, I worked for a company that did corporate events and corporate television. And I was producing programs, you won't believe this, on IT. We had a weekly magazine show on IT, on computers, on cool gadgets, on that sort of thing. And I used to write the scripts for that. And then after that, I set up a business that was producing online courses mostly for banks, actually. So teaching bankers about financial products, derivatives, bonds, stocks and equities, etc. And these were actually used as part of the Series 7 qualification in America and the equivalent in the UK. And then after that, I decided to go back and do something I thought was much more interesting, which was to set up a film school. So it was just at the time that digital technology was taking off in the UK. And I had a friend and investor who'd bought a cinema chain, and he wanted to see if we could use the cinemas in the daytime for courses instead of just leaving them empty, which they mostly were. That actually didn't take off, but we ended up setting up what's now quite a large film school based in Ealing Studios, which is the home, really, of British cinema, where all those wonderful films, Ealing comedies, were made in the 40s and 50s. So that was what I did, and I did that, set that up and ran it for quite a long time. And then
we bought a post-production company together.
That's true, and Julie was involved because we had post-production, so edit suites and colour grading and that sort of thing. And
Back in the day.
And you were managing clients, weren't you?
I was managing clients.
She was
That's
managing
right.
clients, which she does very well.
So brilliant. So I'm just refreshing. My cough is gone. I had a little tickle.
So
we make sure I got everybody.
Today we are in the midst of a house move. Did we say that at the beginning?
Yeah, we did. There's boxes all around us. You can't see. It looks really calm here. Like this looks really calm.
We've just cleared out of space to do this.
No idea what this is.
There are piles of stuff, and there is a cellar full of stuff.
And we should say we're downsizing.
Well, we are, because children are getting older and are moving out.
Yeah.
And so we are moving to a smaller place, which is we're spending more and more time in Dorset. We've still got one child at school in London, which is why we're sort of half here and half there. But increasingly we'll be in Dorset, and so we won't have the need for
this place that we're moving to it's probably our last place in London. Like, this is the place that do you think this is it? Well, because
let's not be too final about things.
because we've had for all these years we've had 4 children go to school in London, all 4 of them, and so each of them needed a bedroom, and now we've got Emma is moving into a flat that I bought before I met Luke. So when I was over here, before I met Luke, I bought a flat. So over 20 years ago, she is moving into that flat, and she is getting her master's, and then she will be starting another master's alongside government sort of backed grad scheme. She will be a prison guard. So
wait. That's not quite what it is. She's doing a graduate scheme through the Home Office over here,
Yeah.
which will give her all sorts of training. The idea is to fast track able people into the prison service, not so that she ends up being a prison guard.
No.
But the idea would be that eventually she might become a manager of a prison or something like that. But along the way, she's obviously going to be a prison guard.
Yeah, that's what I mean. She is going to be a prison guard.
Which is rather brilliant.
It is brilliant.
It's going to be quite a wake up.
And she gets a master's alongside as well. So she's moving into, so it's like a paid master's, if you like. She's moving into my flat, and then Jack is in Scotland, and Nestor is at boarding school.
Sally has asked a question here. Someday you'll have to explain British boarding schools to us Americans.
Yeah, I know. Breaks my heart. But I was so against it, Sally.
We only have one child at boarding school, and that's Nestor. And he's there simply because of the things that it offers. You know, in London or even in Dorset, we couldn't possibly provide him with a natural history society, a DT lab, canoeing, mountain biking, sailing, sea kayaking.
He's very
oriented. I mean, he just
into the nature.
But he does these clubs every day of the week, so he's got one or more of these activities. Going on. He went for that reason.
Yeah, and he went to school all the way through here in London up until he was 13, nearly 14. So he started there, and to be fair, he started there September 2020. When he was 13, and then a month later he turned 14, but he was at home for most of 2020 and 2021 anyway because of the pandemic. so this year is actually has been his first proper year, and he's now 15.
And one of the things he's just been telling us about is that his school, which is Winchester, has a very particular game that they only play at his school, and it's called Winkies, and it's a cross between soccer and rugby. And Nestor's never been that great at team sports, but for some reason this one he's really enjoying, and he's doing really well.
Yeah.
So that's quite exciting.
Yeah.
And they were streaming it live, the match.
Why
we
didn't
missed
we?
it.
Oh.
Well, he wasn't in that one. But he'll be in it as he gets older. Nina's
So-
asked a question. When Julie experiments in the kitchen with nettles,
You try it all. You do try it all.
How do I?
He tries
scared?
everything.
Yeah. Well.
I don't think you're really scared. I think he
As
always
long as
thinks
she's
it's
got
not
somebody
going
with
to
her
taste very well.
Who knows what they're picking. Or if she's got this app, because this amazing app called Picture This. And you
Yes.
point it at a plant or a fungus or a mushroom. And it will basically say just watch out.
Mushrooms, I'm quite.
don't.
The mushrooms. The only mushrooms we've eaten. Well, we ate that enormous one. What was it called again? I can't remember.
Parasol.
A parasol. We knew that was okay because you can
God,
tell
that
a
was good,
difference
wasn't
between.
it?
It was very good. It was so delicious. Between basically the stem, and if it has a coarse stem, then it's edible. If it had a smooth, if it has a snake-like skin stem, then that's edible. They're huge. And then I did go out with a forager, John Wright, and he's excellent. I mean, that's his life, and I felt confident, obviously, eating the mushrooms that he told me to eat. But mostly, you've liked everything, that smoothie that I did with the rose hips and the medlars.
Yeah, she cooks very well. Well, she should, because she's got how many cookbooks?
Well, I got a couple.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
I think I know tastes and flavors decently enough. I wouldn't say I'm good at mixing things together.
Throwing it all in.
Throw it into
the button,
yeah.
Seeing what happens.
And so, yes. So, Sally, it was a really good question. So, for the American in me, I'm going to be honest, it was very hard. I always said none of our children will go to boarding school. And Luke didn't go to boarding school, but...
Well, I did for a bit.
Oh, you did for a tiny bit. But I just said, no, they have to stay, here in London. But Nestor, you can see from the videos, he's all about being outdoors and being in nature. And you don't get that here in London. It's London. It's, one of the biggest cities in the world. And he just absolutely loves his boarding school and just being outdoors. Yes. Oh, you're welcome, Georgia. You're so welcome. Yes. Georgia says, thank you for thinking ahead on pathways for handicapped around trees that would eventually be under shade and could even have some flowers or blooms eventually. Exactly. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So I think, let me just refresh this just to make sure. You just refreshed it.
I think we're probably going to have to go back to our packing
It's been
which
so hard.
I don't think any of you will be particularly envious of.
No. No.
We've got 3 vans arriving on Tuesday. One goes to the new flat, one goes to Dorset, and the other goes to Emma. And so the house is being split into 3.
Yeah, because we're downsizing, we have so much stuff here that it needs to go to Dorset, and because, as you said, we're going to be there more after we get through this move, and so we've got to it's going to be. And poor Luke, because I'm literally leaving at 8 in the morning. I have to do something with Lishimo. I know.
Let's not talk about it now. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you next time. And there's more coming out tonight. There's more coming out next week.
Yes.
And we'll have another Q&A in March.
March.
Can you believe? Or
Yeah.
March, spring. Thank heavens. Though you wouldn't have believed it yesterday with this horrendous storm.
No. We're ready. We're ready for spring. Definitely ready for spring. Thank you, everybody, again for your support and for your questions. And we just really enjoy our Patreon community. Yeah, it's wonderful.
We do.
It's
and
really
thank you
wonderful.
also for watching the Compassion Matters film as well. And those of you who kindly supported the charity, that was very, very generous. We are very grateful. It's an important cause, and it's been something that we've both enjoyed being a part of. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for all your messages. Have a happy weekend.